This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. If you have a dog, they're a part of your family. You love them like it's another human in your house. And with that, sometimes there's some challenges when it comes to behavior. And sometimes your dog may need rehab. We're going to talk about that today with a gentleman who is behind and has been for many decades. I'm thinking at least 5, if my math is correct. Misty Pine's Pet Company in Pennsylvania is what he's created. And this is, I'm going to call it a sanctuary, if I may, in terms of what they do for dogs, whether it be boarding, training, daycare, grooming. There's a dog park. They even support cats in some ways. There's also a canine rehab center at Misty Pines, and we're going to dig into that today and when dogs might need this thing called rehab. Jeff Woods joins us on the program. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing?
Very good, Steve. How is yourself?
Very well, very well. Intrigued to learn more about this because your rehab, in my mind, a little bit different than what many of us might envision it to be. Can you tell us what it looks like in the rehab center there, the canine rehab center? And then let's get into what dogs might need to be there.
Sure, be glad to. A lot of people have dogs, but they adopt dogs, and these dogs sometimes have past issues, and they need special care, special training, and behavior modification in order to improve these dogs. And our facility offers a lot of different services to help improve these dogs, give people advice. They take behavior consultations and they meet with myself and we discuss the issues and give them solutions how to improve this dog. And in that order, there is different services we can work with them to help improve that dog.
What are some of the dogs that are there and their situations? And as I learned briefly before we got on here, there are some times that dogs are in a rehab situation because of things that we, their human, could have done or should have done. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There is certain things that we need to do with our dogs in order for them to become good adult dogs. It's just like raising kids. It's the same thing. So ordinarily it's a puppy should have good socialization and imprinting when they're young. And that's important for a puppy. If a puppy misses good imprinting, and a lot of these dogs that come here with problems, they lack that environmental enrichment with good imprinting. They weren't socialized with dogs. They weren't socialized with people. They weren't in the environment. That occurred just recently when we had the COVID and everybody was in lockdown. Everybody thought, well, it'd be a great idea if I get a dog or get a puppy and we'll just keep the puppy in the house and we'll just live with it. But it's just like our kids in school. That was a nice plan. However, kids that learn from home is not as powerful, the environmental enrichment, as going to school. That's what happened to the puppies. Everybody kept them in lockdown for good reason. That we thought was good reason because of COVID. Nobody got their dogs out. These dogs didn't have environmental enrichment. They weren't socialized properly because the important part of a puppy to socialize, Steve, is prior to 4.5 months old. There's a program called Puppy Culture by Jane Lindquist, and the whole program spelled out what breeders need to do with puppies when they have them. There's a whole training process through the Puppy Culture that goes through that whole process. However, a lot of people didn't realize this, and they just kept the puppies at home, didn't get them out, didn't put them in crates. So after the COVID was over, we saw dogs in here that were extremely fearful, weren't socialized with people, with dogs, were afraid of the environment. And then we have to rehab those dogs.
Wow. So just by dogs not being socialized, that creates a challenge for them?
Absolutely, because it imprints them. So when a dog seizes at a young age, and you take food out with you on walks, and every time they're exposed to something new, you just give them a little piece of food, and that makes them happy. So what happens is these dogs don't get that exposure. As they get older, they're going to be more vigilant and a little bit more hyper vigilant about things that they see, and they get scared. And then through the process of socializing them when they're young, they learn bite inhibition. And that's a key element when puppies are young, to learn bite inhibition, to know to strengthen the power of their mouth and their teeth. So when they do bite on somebody through play biting, that they realize that something is too hard. Because when puppies are young in the litter, there's two behaviors that they're really good at: play biting and jumping up. But when we humans get them, they're going to bite on us like they do other puppies. Other puppies don't feel them because they got all the hair and fur on them. So that way, when a puppy gets information from another puppy, they yip, or another older dog says, "Stop it, you little brat." Woof, the puppy goes, "I'm sorry." What happens when they get angry as humans? A puppy's allowed to correct, but they're not allowed to bite. And we teach the dogs not to use their mouths, and when they do use their mouths, to use it properly.
So when we say socialization, are we saying socializing around other humans and a variety of, so that the dog is comfortable,
Yes.
but also around other dogs?
Yes, because dogs speak a language, and if they're not around other dogs, they're not going to learn the language. Because dogs speak through their body language. So we speak through our words. Dogs speak also, but they have to speak through their body language. And it's our responsibility as humans, when we live with the dogs, to learn what our dogs are saying. Because our dogs are telling us through their body language everything. And
Mm.
sometimes we need to learn their body language. Other dogs learn their body language by being with dogs. And that's important when they're young. Because when they're young, they have baby teeth. They can't hurt anybody because they're babies. So when they're playing with other puppies their age, as they grow up, they learn to have good play manners. They learn how to read each other. And that's important for dogs. And later on, it's important for us humans.
Is it too late? Let's say your dog is older. Let's say now it's about 3, 4, and you didn't socialize as maybe you should have or could have. Maybe it was a COVID dog. Can you still take those steps to socialize
Yeah,
with humans and such?
absolutely. See, and in addition to those dogs, lots of times we get shelter dogs. These dogs are picked up off the street. They're in different homes that have been treated poorly. People collect dogs, all these variables. So we see all types of dogs that need rehab for many, many different reasons. A lot of these dogs have PTSD because they got into issues when they were young, and their
Mm.
imprinting, instead of being positive, their imprinting was very negative. So they have all these scars on their mind, and we have to work these dogs through those scars in order for them to live comfortably with the human and other dogs.
Would you say, if you're realizing, so this is resonating with somebody, and they're realizing, you know what? I didn't realize that. Jeff is spot on in terms of me understanding this, that I probably should have spent more time with my dog around other dogs, because when I walk my dog, he sees another dog, he freaks out. Well, guess what? He's not. It's new, almost a new experience for your dog.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how to socialize properly, so he's clueless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure uncomfortable. His instincts kick in. He's like, I don't know what that is. I got to be careful over there. Whereby it's just another dog that maybe even just wants to say hi and be friendly. What would you do, maybe short of rehab, unless you really need it, to socialize your dog with other dogs? Go to a dog park, find friends who have dogs. What would you suggest?
All the above, but it has to be done wisely, because when you go to a dog park, you got to be careful. So it's like ourselves. If you go to a big function and you see a lot of friends and family there, you feel very comfortable because you have a relationship already built with those people. Like it or
Sure.
not, you still have a relationship. The problem with dogs that go into a public dog park, they never been there before. So it's like us going to a big, huge event and not knowing anybody there. And you have to put on your best behavior to greet everybody and have good manners. And that's what happens to dogs. And sometimes dogs in dog parks do not treat other dogs well, and they don't know how to read each other. And that's
Mm.
when the problems occurred and you get into fights. Because generally, when you go to dog parks, you got to be really careful. And everybody needs to learn how to read the dogs in dog parks. Dog parks can be very good for dogs, but it can be very detrimental for dogs. Because
Mm.
generally, a lot of people that go to dog parks, not all, but a lot of people do, they go there because it's a social event for them and their dogs, and they're not quite often paying attention to their dogs or on their cell phones or just communicating. They're not watching the dogs in this big pack. And the big pack, generally, these dogs, that's what I love about dogs. They're honest creatures. They
Right.
tell you generally what they're going to do before they do it through their body language. So if we can read these dogs, we can address and eliminate a lot of the issues.
I'm right there with you. And I took my dog, who is now going on 8, and this would have been maybe 5 years ago. So he's 3, 4, somewhere in that territory. Took him to a dog park. I gotta say, I was on alert, just like you said, and I didn't know what to expect. And there's other big dogs in there. Mine is like 24 pounds. So I walk in and carefully let him go, but I'm watching everything. If you know, and you also have to read the owners, or
Absolutely.
they're humans. You know,
Yeah.
are they hands on in case something presents? And my dog goes in, jumps immediately up on a park bench, stands up straight and tall, and starts going. "Rah, rah, 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 rah." It's almost as if he was saying, "I'm here now. Take a look at me. I'm establishing who I am. Like I'm the top dog." So I've never seen him do that. And then jumps off the bench and then starts running, you know, like in a pack with the other ones. But to your point, I was watching everything. I didn't want to take my eye off in case
Sure.
something happens. And it was a first experience, but it went well. And I should go back. Yeah, I went a couple of times after that. But it's almost as if that's something that we should do with our dogs because they probably miss it from puppyhood, right?
Sure, sure. And there's a certain way of entering into a dog park with your dog, which I try to teach people.
Mm.
So lots of times people go to the dog park, all the dogs are excited. So if you open up the gate and just put your dog in there without the leash on, then that's basically like throwing meat to the shark sometimes. So all the dogs congregate to the opening. And that's not good for dogs. And it takes a dog 5 minutes to process information. If you just put the dog into that very quickly, there's not enough time for all the dogs to process what's going on. So you want the dogs to smell each other. I always call it the 5 minute rule. Dogs need to process information, smell the other dogs, see the environment, absorb it in their brain, what's going on. So my suggestion to owners going into a dog park, you go into the dog park with your dog on the leash. You go in there first. You push all the other dogs back, get back, 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 and you start walking your dog around the perimeter of the dog park on the leash.
Mm.
You want the dogs to come up to your dogs and shake their hand. A dog's handshake is the nose to the rear end. Now, if you go eyeball to eyeball to a dog, that can be very challenging, and that's sometimes very often where the problem occurs.
Mm.
Imagine yourself on the street, and they don't know each other in a dog park. Imagine yourself on the street. Somebody strange comes up to you, eyeball to eyeball, and puts their nose on your nose and looks at you. You're going to feel fairly uncomfortable.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you have a loved one there and they come up to you, eyeball to eyeball, and give you a big hug, hey, everything's cool. So that's what happens in dog parks. So you want the dog to smell the other dog from the back. Your dog has to realize also that you are their protector. So if a dog gets too close, I always tell the dogs in front, back off a little bit. I always put my back off a little bit, and they respect that. And they'll go around, they'll smell the dog's rear end. So you make one big loop. All the dogs smell the dog, do their handshake. They start veering off, veering off. You do one big loop. Then you can disconnect the leash. Then you won't have that rapid rush. That rapid rush to a dog is really tough on them.
Traumatic. I can't imagine. And thank you for that. I don't know why I didn't think of leaving mine on the leash and walking him around. Turned out okay, but it probably would have been even a little bit better in terms of being comfortable. Interesting you said, Jeff, that our dogs look at us as their protector. Never
Absolutely.
thought of that because you think a dog is pretty self-sufficient. It's an animal. It comes from the wild. Something presents to the dog, they'll handle it. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
especially with a group of dogs, because you see a dog out of order, you got to back that dog. Hey, stop. That's enough. It's like having a group of kids. You got to kind of give them some boundaries and structure and rules. If not, they're just all going to go wild. And then when you do that walk around with the dogs, you can see what dogs that are in that dog park that aren't being that are not being appropriate in a park. Because some people just go to the park and they just let their dogs go asunder with no reasoning whatsoever. So you
Yep.
just leave the park until they leave. That happens.
You know what I realized as my dog gets older, he takes less chances. What do I mean by that? I'm out walking him, and maybe 1 out of 10 dogs he'll bark. And I don't know if he's just saying hi or whatever he's doing, but there have been times recently where he'll see a dog, he might make a ruff, but he almost makes a beeline out of there. And he's never done that before, and it's almost as if he's saying, like, yeah, hey, dude, or dad, let's get out of here. And then he'll start going like, kind of like insinuate that we need, and I know that I should be the leader, but he kind of says, all right, yeah, I'm not feeling good with this. Let's move on. And then he'll trot a little faster than usual. It's almost as if he's not comfortable and he wants to get away from a potential threat, if that makes sense.
And you're absolutely right, Steve. That's because you read your dog. So if you read your dog to read your body language, they can't speak words. He can't say, "Hey, Dad, let's get out of this park." Through reading his body language, you can see he's very uncomfortable. There's something he sees in that dog because that dog is giving off body language. That dog's saying something else, and your dog's saying, "I don't want to deal with this canine. Let's get out of here."
Yeah.
So you did the right thing.
What are some of the other reasons that somebody might bring their dog to your canine rehab center?
It's a lot of aggression, dog reactivity, separation, anxiety, resource guarding, not getting along with the family members, not listening well, many different things in that nature. But anything
Wow.
that people can't understand about their dog, we try to give people some really good structure to really think like their particular dog and then try to customize a program for that person and their family as how to rehab that dog. And dogs that tend to be very reactive, you need to have stimulus control, and that's what we have at the rehab center. So people come in to our arena, and we have stuffed dogs, we have dogs on leashes, we have agility obstacles, we have a whole program to take these dogs and to convince these dogs how to behave around other dogs and people. But the problem if people come in here and they do a behavior consultation with me, they get all the exercises, but the problem is they can't do the exercises outside of their home because you don't have stimulus control when you go outside the home because people are walking their dogs. They want to come see you real quick. People are coming right and left behind you. So you got to have control of the stimulation that the dog is afraid of or having problems with. So if you've got controlled stimulation, it's easier to rehab the dog because it's done in systematic desensitization and you slowly present different pictures to the dog
Mhm.
and you convince the dog to do other behaviors other than the behavior that's not appropriate in that situation.
I never thought of this until we're talking today, but it seems like, Jeff, you and your team at Misty Pines are really problem solvers. Do you feel that when somebody is with you and they're explaining their dog situation or you're observing the dog that you go into that mode where, all right, we have something here. Why is this happening? Let me piece it all together and see if I can come up with a solution. Does it feel that way for you?
Oh, definitely. And that just gives me great joy doing that. When you're done with a session or two, and people say, thank you, you really have reduced my stress in my life.
Mm,
Because our dogs or cats are like family. When you're having a specific problem that's just really eating at you, and you don't know how to solve it, and you're frustrated, and you're going on YouTube and all these other social media events trying to learn something, they're not making any progress. When they say that to me, it's just like I feel really good about that. I
Mm.
reduced the stress in their life because life can be stressful now without one of your loved ones having a problem, you know.
That, and you said it, loved one. That's it. You want the best for them, and you never want them to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
And they can be, when different situations present. But you didn't initially give them the tools to deal with that, or they just never had it from the beginning. I want to pivot over to something that you created, and
Okay.
this is a proprietary. This is your baby, a dog collar. Tell us about that.
Well, it's a dog collar. We call it the Scruffy Guider. And years ago, we had problems with dogs especially when they were young, because when people used to walk them and train them, that single band collar used to put a lot of pressure on their throats and their voice box, and dogs used to hack, choke, and cough.
Mm.
So we invented a collar. It's a double collar design. We got the patent on it back in 1996, and it's been a good, successful all-around collar for dogs. We do a lot of agility work with obstacles. That's important to have really good handle on your dog when you are doing agility obstacles, because that's what builds trust and confidence into you as your handler, because you're teaching your dog how to go over various different obstacles. And if you're not careful enough, the dog's going to either slip or fall off, which you lose trust, you gain more fear. So when you have a scruffy guider collar on your dog, especially when they're young, it's a double collar design. It puts pressure through two bands of collar. It doesn't put all that pressure on a single band. So it virtually eliminates all that hacking, choking, and coughing. And then you have a little handle on it where the leash is attached. You can hang on that handle also to help your dogs navigate through some of these difficult obstacles. Obstacles are very important in training because it teaches self-esteem, self-confidence in the dog. And we're doing fear and fear aggression, which is one of our biggest behavior modification rehab centers to work this. You have to work obstacles with your dog because you have to convince your dog, hey, you can do an obstacle and run over this or crawl through something other than being reactive to the dog when there's dogs around. And you reward them with a good food reward, with the obstacle, and the dog will look at you and say, hey, Steve, man, oh man, I didn't realize I was capable of doing this. Thank you for teaching me that. So you start teaching cooperation with the dog and teaching the dog and convince them that they can do other behaviors besides the behavior that is inappropriate.
Do you feel, final question here today, I
Sure.
love the collar idea. I deal with that myself. Like if he wants to go in a certain direction and it's like, no, we're not going that way. We need to go this way. Sometimes he'll fight the collar a little bit, and it's not like I yank on it or pull it, but that situation presents, and I can't imagine that that's comfortable for anyone, dog, human, whatever it might be. In those situations where your dog learns something new, do you think that they have a feeling of accomplishment, like deep down
Absolutely.
inside? Yeah.
Absolutely. And you'll see the relationship between the owner that was struggling and the dog. You start seeing how that just starts coming and uniting. And pretty
Mm.
soon you do an obstacle, dog goes over, and your dog looks at you and say, hey, thank you, Steve. I really enjoy listening to what you tell me to do because I really love this obstacle. 'Cause every obstacle has a name to it. So you tell the dog scramble, the dog scrambles over, he's successful, he does it a couple of times, he's really happy doing it. So what happens when he comes over at the end of the obstacle, he's wagging his tail, happy, happy, and he'll look at you, he'll say to you, hey, I'm really listening to what you have to say. What else would you like me to do for you?
Mm.
So it teaches cooperation. So that's why it's important to make sure your dog's successful getting over these obstacles. That's why the scruffy guider collar is imperative, especially when they're young. It teaches the dog to have confidence in you to handle uh, them through a situation that's difficult. It's like taking a kid over a scary bridge. You got to hold their hand. You got to try to guide them a little bit so they put trust into you.
Beautiful. Wow. This is an eye opener for me, and I think for so many others in terms of what dogs are thinking and how to, correct certain behaviors. This is what you do for decades
Absolutely.
at Misty Pines.
Yeah, the canine rehab center is really nice, and people can come in, and I give them the exercises to do. They don't need me to be there, but they need to do some of these exercises before they set up another behavior consult so we can move forward. So they need to practice a little bit. And the problem is there's no place for a human to practice in Earth. Pittsburgh, you can't go in any streets. That's why we developed Misty Pines. We have the dog park where you can run them off leash on the 25 plus acres, bring them into the rehab center, and try to build some more confidence in the dog. So it's all a big component of what we do sitting on our 25 acres here in Pittsburgh.
Oof. I have to tell you one thing, maybe someday it'll be attained, but getting to a point where I can take the collar or the leash off my dog and just let him go in an area that if he wanted to, he could go off in a certain direction, and that would be problematic, maybe with traffic down the road, whatever it might be. I'd love to get to that point.
I would love to. I love to have you here to have you to complete that. 'Cause I don't think a dog is a dog unless you can let them run and hike with them. I love hiking with dogs.
Oh my gosh, you said that last time we got together, and I just had that visual of just going hiking with your dog and letting them be free as they should be. And of course,
and that's part of behavior modification protocol. Some of the dogs really need that. So that's what when you come here, you'll get the advice on what that dog particularly needs to get them over their issues.
And you just said, I think, a very key point, as with many other ones. You can't find this on YouTube. It's not about your dog. Every dog is different. Every dog is unique. Every dog came or was raised in a different way. Absolutely. So you have to meet them where they are, as opposed to clicking on a video and hoping that applies to your dog. Amazing talking with you, Jeff. Love your passion, your insight. Just like so focused and easy to understand. Website for Misty Pines, what is that?
MistyPinesPetCompany.com. And for all you that are out there, we'd love for you to call us and make an appointment. We can go online and we can do a phone call consult. We can do over the internet, go through that process. So we just want to help dogs and help people and make people feel confident there's a place to go to get improvement out of their dog. So if you feel like you need help and you're stuck, give us a call.
Beautiful. Jeff, thank you. And it shows. Thank you so much for being here today. Looking forward next time we talk.
My pleasure, Steve. Thank you.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.